This question, we're asked to solve this equation given our answer in terms of e, so that's fairly straightforward. We've got the natural logarithm of 3x add 1 is equal to 2. We can take exponentials of both sides, so that 3x add 1 is e squared, and we can solve for x by subtracting 1 and divided by 3. X would be e squared subtract 1 divided by 3. Very straightforward for 3 marks there, and you've left your answer in terms of e. Okay, now for part B, we're asked to do the following. Prove by counterexample that this statement is false. We want to prove that ln of this thing here is bigger than or equal to 0 is false by a counterexample. Okay, so what we're going to do is we want to, let me just write what I want to prove. I want to prove that the logarithm of 3x squared add 5x add 3 is bigger than or equal to 0 is false, and so I want to find a value of x that makes it negative. So let's think more generally of logarithms. So we've got a logarithm here. Let's just think of the y equals log x graph. Now you should know that the y equals log x graph looks something like this. That's y is equal to the logarithm, natural logarithm of x. And this graph is negative for x less than 1. So this graph is negative. So the logarithm of x is negative when x is less than 1. Okay? So therefore, this thing here would be negative if 3x squared add 5x add 3 was less than 1. Okay, i.e. if I subtract 1 off both sides, 3x squared add 5x add 2 is less than 0, which you could factorise as 3x as follows, less than 0, and you could draw the graph of that quadratic. Now that quadratic crosses at -1 and -2/3, so something like this, and it's a positive quadratic. So where is that negative? That's negative here. So that's negative for x between -2/3 and x between -2/3 and 1. So for example, if you put any x value here, let's pick a value certainly between 1 and 2/3. So for example, like -3/4. If you chose x is to be -3/4, you would know that this would be less than 0, and hence this would be bigger than 0. So let's try that. The natural logarithm of 3 -3/4 squared add 5 -3/4 add 3. And let's check what you get when you do that. So you can get your calculator and you can type in, I would have actually just typed in the natural logarithm. So ln of 3x squared, so 3x squared add 5x add 3, okay, and I'd evaluate that at -3/4, so -0.75, and I get myself -0.06, so I get equals -0.06, therefore statement is false. Because the statement said that this was always bigger than or equal to 0, and we found an x where it's actually less than 0, so the statement is false.